Hello everyone, welcome to the Court of the EDI Jester. Subscribe, would you please, if you can. If you're not subscribed already, please do. Get notifications on so you can know when I put on my wibbling. I'm utterly gobsmacked by this. There was a thing going on a few days ago about womb transplants. Apparently they've done 50 in other countries and they've been effective, and they're generally done in the case where there is a serious medical need, right? Or this, I think it was a sister had given the other sister her womb and there was a womb transplant. I got to say, it doesn't sit well with me, right? And not least of all, it didn't sit well with me, not least of all because it took all of 5 minutes before they started talking about trans women. All of 5 minutes before ethically, we are at the doorway. We seem to be at the doorstop of something dreadful. And if we don't stand up and say why, I think we're going to be in real trouble as a race. But that's just me. It doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well. And I don't know why. But it's no wonder then that we've had another case which comes from that horror story that is the Tavistock and gives us something frankly unbelievable that highlights the sheer perversity of the LGBTQI plus movement and the sheer perversity of what appear to be surgeons who are inculcated and up to their dirty little eyeballs in this. It comes from the Daily Mail by Martin Beckford, the policy editor, from the 23rd of August. Anger flares at the controversial Tavistock clinic over a sex change operation for a young person who cannot read or write and has 14 mental health conditions. You and I both know, I hope there's more than one of you watching, but you and I know that this is not rare. This idea of mental health conditions is not rare. That actually this need to try and do something about your body, even though it's not going to make any difference to you. Suicide ideation, all the stuff that they lie about, it's not going to make any difference to you, is that the question of mental comorbidities has been on the table for a long time. Ever since I've been involved in this, we've known that there's the comorbidities, and that gender ideation of being the opposite sex is actually a symptom, not a cause, and that we've been pandering to the symptom. This goes beyond that, well beyond it, and I've no idea if this is allowed to go ahead, where we go from here, frankly. Fresh questions were raised last night about a controversial NHS clinic after it emerged that a young person with 14 mental health conditions and who cannot read or write had been approved for gender surgery. I know it's a terrible thing to say, and I don't like saying it. But if you're a human, you think awful things. You don't always articulate them. But is it me? Or is this somebody who years ago would have been seen as an idiot, would have been seen as, a useless, idiotic ne'er-do-well, and they would have dealt with him however it took? That's what it seems like to me. It's like we've gone back in time. Conservative peer Lord Goldsmith branded medics at the Tavistock and Portman NHS Foundation Trust utterly barbaric and said they should be locked up for carrying out procedures akin to lobotomies. The case of the troubled 22-year-old emerged in court papers as it was argued that misgendering had contributed to the failure of their education. Known only as AI, or AL, I think is L, AL, to protect their identity, the individual who is transitioning from female to male took Wandsworth Council to the High Court through solicitors for allegedly failing to cater for transgender young people with special educational needs. Here we go. The judgment in the case revealed that Al cannot read or write following a chaotic childhood with a mother who was a recovering drug addict, whom he saw subjected to domestic violence. They've got E there. To domestic violence. Al was looked after by his disabled grandmother, went into the care system as a teenager, and had a long history of disrupted schooling. The judgment continued. She has a total of 14 diagnoses and continues to have complex needs. His difficulties have been medically described as, wait for it, mild mental retardation, attachment disorder, emotion dysregulation, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, and autism spectrum disorder, dyslexia. Severe anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and low self-esteem. In 2021, it says here, I'm not doing it, she was diagnosed with disturbance of activity and attention, minimal impairment of behaviour, and reactive attachment disorders of childhood. Al was referred to the Tavistock, whose gender clinic for young people was rated inadequate by inspectors and earmarked for closure last year. That was aged 14, and she's now been approved for body-changing surgery. The judgment added she would need ongoing support. Fears have been raised in recent years that vulnerable teenagers have been rushed into taking puberty-blocking drugs and undergoing irreversible surgery at the Tavistock. Lord Goldsmith wrote on social media, this young person has been diagnosed with 14 mental health disorders. The response from these ghouls is to chop up her body and fill her with hormones. How is this different to lobotomies? These professionals are utterly barbaric and need locking up. I'm with Lord Goldsmith. Marcus Evans, a former governor of the trust that runs the Tavistock, quit in 2019, saying it should not be hurrying young people down the path of no return. Al accused the Wandsworth Council of breaching its duties by failing to secure him special educational provision, and failing to consider her placements may have broken down because of gender discrimination. The judge concluded that the town hall had paid careful attention to Al's requirements, rejecting her claims. If this person is that ill, if this person is that young, if this person has all these problems, that's somebody who's seriously ill. Can't read and write. Who brought the case? Who brought the case? There's a spider somewhere, isn't there? Tap in the web. There's a spider somewhere. But Mrs. Justice Foster wrote, the circumstances of her early life are significantly distressing and can only provoke profound sympathy. It is utterly beyond me that we've got to this point. Utterly beyond me. I'm afraid that I think it needs to stop, full stop, on the NHS. All of it. It ends. It ends. This is somebody who is now 22, who is obviously so unbelievably unwell that it is inconceivable to me that they have agency of any kind amidst all of those diagnoses of problems. Inconceivable to me. And I don't understand why we think it's okay to do this in ongoing care. We know what that means. On the taxpayer. Let's be economic about it. Shouldn't be happening. End of story. Needs to stop. All of it. All of it. You want to do this, you do it privately. You fund it privately, and they must insure you for the rest of your life, medically, when they do it. So that the coffers aren't the public that are paying for it. It ends for everyone. That's the only way forward now. That's the only way forward. Otherwise, you're just pandering to a cosmetic surgery industry, which is what we're doing. We're pandering to a cosmetic surgery industry. How that person can have been let down so terribly badly by our society will haunt me for the next few days. And it should probably haunt you too.